Hi YouTube, it's Nikki. I apologize for the horrible lighting. For some reason, when my phone's not on record, the lighting is great. But as soon as I push the record button, it gets really dark. So if I have to, I'll get up and go up on my lights. Excuse the background. I'm in the middle of actually doing laundry, and I thought I'd sit down and record another video. Just a forewarning, this video will talk about loss, child loss, infant loss, in a little more detail and show some momentums that I have. So if you are in the stage of grieving where seeing these sensitive items and hearing these sensitive things may not be beneficial for you, you may click out of this video at this time. I don't want to upset anyone, but by talking about my daughter and going through these things, it's actually very helpful for me. I never thought it would be in the beginning. I kind of wanted to shut my mind to it, but by remembering her and living my life through her, it has really helped and made this experience as positive as it possibly can be. Okay, so I kind of wanted to go through and tell you guys, if you've been watching my videos, this is only my third video, so I don't have a whole lot. My husband and I have been together officially since 2011, but we've grown up together. I met him when I was 10 years old. I am almost 25 now. He's been my best friend for the past 15 years, so needless to say, we got married and in 2012, and we decided to stop preventing pregnancy and just let God choose when it was our time to have a child. I wasn't counting days and ovulation kits and all that stuff. I wasn't doing that. We just were not preventing pregnancy if it were to happen. And it took a while. There were quite a few times that my period would be late and I would take a test and it would be negative. And I'd be disappointed, and maybe a week or two later I'd finally start, and okay, well, maybe this time's not the time. So that went on quite a few times. So I stopped being so diligent about taking pregnancy tests when my period never came because I was tired of being disappointed. My period had always come right after I'd take a test, so I just decided to start prolonging when I would take one. And then in April, I bought a new car. I started a new job at a hospital. I am a nurse's assistant, and I have always worked in long-term health care, and I decided to get a job at a hospital so I can try to broaden my experience and get a little insight as to maybe what I'd want to do going back to school. I don't want to be a nurse, but I'm not exactly sure what I want to do. I do want to work in healthcare though. Anyway, long story short, bought a new car, started a new job, so things were changing. Things were changing. So then in May, I had my birthday, and I've never been much of a party goer. I'm not a big drinker, but my sister finally convinced me on my 24th birthday to go out to a bar with her, and it was so much fun. I had a lot of fun. Didn't really drink a lot, wasn't feeling like drinking. Needless to say, I had a lot of fun, and then towards the end of the month, end of May, that I decided that I felt like drinking, which rare occasion. So my husband and I and a couple friends, we actually went to a topless bar, which I had never been to before. Must have been a hormone thing. Needless to say, I was very sick and I had hardly drank anything at all. I had a couple beers and was vomiting, headache, dizzy, we went home. Like there was no, I didn't even make it to closing time. If that tells you anything. I don't think I made it to midnight. So we went home, and I just thought that I was sick or something on top of drinking, so it just, that's what I assumed. Now, at this time, I do believe it was like the 23rd of May, and my period was supposed to have started on the 11th, so I was, what is that, 12 days? 12 days late, which wasn't a big deal, because like I said, that had happened multiple times to me throughout my life. My periods have never been normal. So I didn't think anything about it. Then 2 days later, I was still vomiting, and thought that was strange. Well, my husband and I decided we were just going to go for a car trip. We always like to just go on road trips, and we'll just drive through the country and look at houses and nature. We're really outdoorsy kind of people. We just like to be outside. And when we came back, I decided I would go ahead and take a pregnancy test. And it was 7 p.m. I do believe. I'm pretty sure I wrote it down. I think it was 7 p.m. Yeah. It was between 7 and 8 o'clock on May 24th, which was a Sunday. And I was still really sick. And so I decided I would take a pregnancy test. And I've always been an advocate of the Dollar General tests, the dollar store tests. They work just as well as the expensive ones. And I had stocked up on them, considering how we were trying to get pregnant. But they had just changed the packaging on the ones that I bought. So when I peed and I put it on my little test, I can't tell you which one of these it is, but I got 2 lines. And I wasn't expecting it at all. So I picked up the packaging, like pulled the packaging out of the trash, and I was like, wait a minute. 2 lines means pregnant. And so I hollered for my husband, and I said, will you please come in here. Do you see 2 lines on this? And he says, yeah. And he says, well, what's that mean? I said, it means I'm pregnant. He says, no way. So he said, you need to pee on more. Well, I had 2 more tests. Well, you don't actually pee on these. You have to pee in a cup. And I had already dumped my urine, and I just peed. It's in the afternoon, and I'm like, oh my gosh, can I squeeze any more out? Is it possible? Well, being pregnant, yeah, of course it's possible you can pee some more. So I was able to get just enough to fill up 2 more, and both were positive. So I was so excited I started to cry. My husband was kind of in shock. If you guys don't know, I had lost 3 babies before this, and they were all unknown reasons. All 3 babies had a heartbeat at one time, and then I would start to bleed, and there would be no heartbeat after that. So we were nervous. He was scared, didn't know what was going to happen, and that's to be expected. This video is going to be very long. It's already 8 minutes long. Holy cow. Okay, so we have a company, a healthcare place here in my hometown that does proof of pregnancies for free. My husband and I don't come from a very fortunate family. We work very hard for what we have, but I wanted to make sure that right away, as soon as I got pregnant, we would check for viability, like if it was a viable pregnancy. That way we could act the way that we needed to, take action. So I went, and they confirmed, yes, you are pregnant, and they scheduled a free ultrasound for me so that we could make sure that it wasn't like, I don't know, anything that could have been wrong before you go to a regular OB, because no one wanted to consider me high risk because they ruled it natural causes for my miscarriages, so never thought there was anything wrong. So they wouldn't see me till between 10 and 12 weeks, and all my babies were lost right around that time. So I wanted to make sure. And the ultrasound, the ultrasound was amazing. I was 8 weeks in, I think, 8 weeks and 3 days when I had these pictures taken, and I'll kind of show you guys. of course, let me find one that doesn't really look so much. I mean, mind you, the baby was just like a little bitty body with a head, a body, and barely any like arms or legs, just like little nubs. So like the first couple pictures, sorry, there's a glare, guys. She just looked like a little bitty peanut, a little sack in there. And then like this one, you can actually see, oh, like little legs and arms, her little buds. And then we hadn't told my husband's dad yet. So, and I don't actually have it, he has it now. But kind of like this one, the ultrasound tech, I don't know if you can read it. It says, "Hi, Mommy and Daddy, I love you." They made one that says, "Hi, Grandpa, I love you." And that's how we told his dad, is we gave him that picture of his little grandbaby. And ironically, a week after I found out I was pregnant, my husband's sister found out she was having her second baby. So we were kind of doing this thing together. At first, they said that she was due 8 days after me. And then eventually it became 3 weeks after me. So she would have been 3 weeks behind me. So, let's fast forward. Pregnancy was great. Went to my first doctor's appointment June 24th. Had a cervical check, a pelvic exam. Everything looked good. Baby's heartbeat was 160. I was measuring great, right on track. So my next appointment wasn't until July. We made an appointment in July. I actually met with my OB at that time. The first time was with this nurse, and then this in July was with him. He just did a measurement of my belly and listened to fetal Doppler. Heartbeat was 165, so it went up. But he said everything was great. I finally stopped being sick, was able to eat, started to gain a little bit of weight. I lost 7 pounds in the beginning, and then I think I ended up gaining about 4 of it back. Okay, so fast forward. I had an ultrasound appointment for an anatomy scan scheduled for August 20th. Well, August 5th, I felt the ballooning effect in my vagina, thinking that I had to have a bowel movement, and I felt the pressure in a different area. It feels similar. If any of you actually have kids, you'll know they tell you when you feel like you have to have a bowel movement, that usually means it's time to push, because everything kind of comes down and puts pressure around the rectal area. But I could tell the difference. This was not what that was. So I called the hospital, and I called my sister-in-law and said, "I need to come in. There's something wrong." And my OB wasn't actually there. My OB wasn't the on-call OB either. It was a female OB. So she asked if I had any bleeding, and I didn't. If I was having any pain, and I wasn't. It was the discomfort, but it was not painful. There was no pain involved. So her advice was just to stay home and wait, and if I had any bleeding or pain, to come to the hospital. Well, I trust my body, and no one knows me better than me. So I said, I'm going to go ahead and come in, and I want to be checked. There's something wrong. There's something in the birth canal that's trying to come out. There's something wrong. So my sister-in-law and her daughter, who just turned 3, came up to the hospital and met me and my husband up there. I had to sit out in the waiting room until they finally got me in. And mind you guys, I work at this hospital. I know the staff. It's not a bad hospital. I know what it's like. It gets busy. And I was not at a viable stage. So in the event that something were to be going wrong, I would expect for them to take someone who is of viability before me. As sad as that sounds, give someone a chance that has a chance to begin with, and I didn't. But needless to say, so we got back to the room, and they brought an ultrasound tech in, and they put the little Doppler on my belly, and as soon as they put it on there, they checked for a heartbeat, and it was just a thud, 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 thud. It was pounding 160. they were taking pictures. Now, I wasn't very familiar as to what exactly an ultrasound picture is supposed to look like. I knew that there would be like some fluid and a baby, and they didn't have the screen facing me, so I couldn't really see. I was trying to see, and she kind of showed me, and like baby's arms were up here and her feet were pulled up, but she was like squirming, she was moving in there. So I thought everything was okay. Baby's okay. My fear that there would be no heartbeat, like had been the 3 times before, went away, and I felt relieved. I thought whatever it was that was there, we could fix. My baby is still alive and is still inside of me. We can fix it. So then a nurse came in to do a pelvic exam, and as soon as she went to put the speculum in, it was very uncomfortable and very painful, and she barely got it in and took it out. Asked me who my OB was, and I told her, but I also told her I already talked to the on-call OB and she knows I'm here. Next thing I know, the on-call OB came in and she stood next to my bed and told me, "Nikki, I'm sorry, but you have what we call an incompetent cervix." And the first thing that came out of my mouth is my baby going to be okay? Don't bring the OB in here and diagnose me with something and talk to me about something I had no idea what it was, never heard of it. And she said, right now the baby's okay, but you are bulging your membranes, and on the ultrasound we could see that your fluid is very minimal. There must be a hole in your amniotic fluid somewhere, and you've been having a slow leak. Because in my pictures, my other ultrasound pictures when I was 8 weeks, now at this time I was 16 weeks and 4 days when I went to the hospital, so it, double my time. But in 8 weeks, my ultrasound pictures looked great. Amniotic fluid was very proportional to where I should have been at that gestation. So somewhere along the lines, I got a leak. This video is going to be